Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 5 of season 1 of the all new Wired Nerdy podcast. My name is Keith. I am here with my good friend and co-host Doug. How you doing, my friend?
Doing great.
Good, good, good. Before we get into the cool stuff, let's just talk a little bit about what this podcast is. If you're just now discovering it, if you have been with us up to this point, thank you so very, very much. Wired Nerdy is essentially conversation between two friends and other friends that we're going to bring in for interviews later on, where we talk about cool things into geek culture, nerd culture, technology, movies, film, all the stuff that we just think is cool. And even outside of that, stuff that we find fascinating or interesting. We will talk about it here and just really have a good time, learn new things, and enjoy each other's company. So now, if you're listening to this right now, you know you have options. If you're new and just discovered us on YouTube, you can watch us on YouTube. You can also watch us on Spotify. There we add some of the things that we're talking about, visuals, if you're interested in seeing what we're discussing, which is a nice aid. Or you can listen to any of your major podcast platforms we are distributed on. So be sure, no matter how you decide to consume, try to like and subscribe as we build our audience and our brand. And we greatly appreciate you all spending a little bit of time with us here each week. So, Doug, let's start it off with the nerd news, my friend. All those cool things. Let's get into it. The first thing I'm going to bring up is very simple. There's not a lot to talk about, just interesting. Uh, First of all, are you running Windows 11 or Windows 10 right now?
I'm at Windows 11.
Do you like it?
It's good. I like the flow. I got to throw some hate back to Windows 8, so much better. But yeah, Windows 11 seems pretty streamlined. I've got all my bars. I'm kind of looking down here.
You went all the way back to
Um,
Windows 8 to hate on it. That's a low
I got to
blow.
hate on it. I hate it.
That's a low
Well, I
blow.
mean, Windows Vista, let's not even talk about that. But yeah.
Vista was better than 8, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, typically, I think I skipped 8. Actually, to be honest with you, it was so bad. But anyway, Windows 11 is good. It's not quite as optimized for gaming. If you're into gaming yet, it will get there, I'm sure. But the news is that Windows 11, and a release that's about to come out, it's in beta right now. They're finally going to update the sound mixing tool. So they're supposed to add more stuff into it. There's some rumors about them also integrating their new acquisition of the ChatGPT language modeling AI into the actual search bar. That'll be interesting. But with the sound
Yes.
mixer right now, it's buried. It's about like 3 or 4 clicks for you to get to your sound mixer so that you can adjust your audio volumes, your mic volumes. They're going to try to bring that to the surface, lessen the clicks, redesign the interface. And honestly, that has not been done, I dare say, since maybe Windows XP, maybe Windows 98.
Oh, been
So
a long time. Yeah.
it has been. So anytime a new feature like that's kind of touched, it's important to kind of know it's coming your way. Hopefully, it will be a quality of life improvement. So that's the first one I had on my list. I know I have an expansive one this week. I went a little crazy like you did in
Yeah,
the
no
prior
problem.
episode. What do you have next for us, my friend?
I have some news out of Nerf Kingdom. The Nerf guns, all that Nerf stuff. They have, and it just caught my eye scrolling through the feed, a new, I would call it a missile launcher. Maybe that's not the right word, but a Destiny Edition Gallahorn blaster coming in at
Destiny,
a
as in
whopping,
the video game Destiny, right?
I think so, yeah. I'm looking at this and we'll throw a picture of it up. It's so ornate. It's got all kinds of stuff on the outside. It looks like a missile launcher, but just the things coming out of Nerf are crazy. They've had machine guns, they've had bows, they've had little grenades and stuff, and this just caught my eye.
Nerf stuff's
And going
awesome.
down that rabbit hole, I did not know that Nerf started in the '60s.
Yeah, it's been around a
Um,
while.
yeah, long time. And their motto for the first one was the world's first official indoor ball. Throw it indoors, can't damage lamps, break windows, you can't even hurt babies or old people. So that was pretty funny.
Was that the original commercial pitch for it?
Yeah, I kind of did a rabbit hole looking at their history on their website. That was funny. So,
Oh, that's hilarious. There was a few years ago, I don't know if you remember this, they had played an April Fool's joke and it made everybody very, very angry. A lot of companies during April Fool's will release fake products. One of
yeah.
theirs, I had to look at it's like called the Megatron or Megaton missile or something like that. But basically, it was this large mushroom shaped rocket launcher. You can hear Doug type in there. He's probably looking it up.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. Yeah.
So this huge rocket shaped, mushroom type shaped rocket that you shoot in the air, and it on the cone of it had a lot of um, different Nerf darts, and it's supposed to release them all at once, almost like a big mega bomb. And it was a fake thing, but people were really upset because they wanted to buy it, like pre-orders and everything. So that was kind of a funny marketing thing they
Yeah.
had there.
I'll have to throw a picture up later. I am not finding it right away. So,
Gotcha. We'll throw that up in the edits. You guys can check it out. So the next news piece is about Alien, which ties into what we're going to talk about a little bit later today, which is the Predator franchise. Alien Next Generation will start filming on March 9th of 2023. It is being produced by Ridley Scott, and he did, of course, the one of the originals, James Cameron, of course, who we'll also talk about a little bit later on, had done one of the original Aliens. But inside of the whole series, he most recently did Alien Covenant, and before that, Prometheus. Both received kind of oddly. I love both of them. Not sure if you checked those out or if you like them at all, Doug, or what do you think about the Alien series?
I really liked it. I started, with the classic Aliens and Sigourney Weaver and all that stuff. I don't know if there's comics or anything before that, but that's kind of where I started at, maybe with everybody else, I believe.
Yeah, I think the comics came after, but don't quote me on that. But
Oh, okay.
there's
Yeah.
there's novelizations
But
and
yeah, I've loved them. They've been great. I'm not really a horror movie fan, but that mixes in some sci-fi and some action, and then all the one-liners from Bill Paxton's great.
no, it is. And I may have mentioned it before, but if you ever get bored and you want a good laugh, one of the scariest games in virtual reality is called Alien Isolation. Essentially, you have no weapons, no nothing. You're hiding on a ship from the alien, and you get inside air ducts and stuff. If you want a good laugh, go to YouTube, Google watching people play Alien Isolation in VR,
Yeah,
and people are filming people putting the headset on doing it and their reactions and screaming and people trying to rip it off. It's hilarious. So
it's
may have
great.
mentioned
I've
that
watched
before.
those. Yeah.
They're really good. They're really good. All right. Next up in our news piece is about artificial intelligence. I'm sure we're going to be talking about this a lot. I really put in there what I would figure there's a really light one and kind of maybe more of a negative one about artificial intelligence. This one just made me laugh. Doug, you checked it out as well.
Yes.
Someone took the former presidents of the United States, ran them through Midjourney, which is one of the many AIs that are out there. This one does graphical creations, and they put mullets. That's in like Billy Ray Cyrus mullets, achy breaky heart, Billy Ray Cyrus hair mullets on all of the presidents. And I have to tell you, we'll put them up. They look awesome. What did you think of them? they
I
all
thought
of
they were
them.
great.
It doesn't matter your political affiliation.
Oh, yeah,
They
no.
all look awesome.
Yeah. I mean, definitely add some style to the White House there. So
Which one was your favorite?
I'd have to go with JFK. He is rocking that mullet out of this world, man.
It was good. It was funny. They did it to all of them, and they
Yeah.
were really really good. The ones I remember seeing, and again, I'll make sure I put them up because they're just too funny not to share. I mean, they had Jimmy Carter, they had
Yeah.
Donald Trump, they had Joe Biden, which honestly he looked really really cool with a mullet. They had Bill Clinton, Obama, like all of them. It's so cool. So to me, that's a positive use of AI. I don't know if it
Absolutely.
contributes much
Yeah.
to the world, but if I can see more mullets on historic figures, I'm all for it, man. If that's what AI is going to bring us, let the future be bright. So,
Definitely.
the next one, I'm not sure if you heard about this. It is a TikTok filter. Now, I'm not on TikTok. Have you ever messed with the TikTok filters very much?
No, I mean, I'm only a watcher. There's so many funny videos and stuff. I just keep scrolling, scrolling, but I've never made a video myself.
Yeah. It's one of those things that, I never really got into, but I know kids are the kids nowadays. But what's interesting about it is up to this point, there have been filters that do all kinds of things. They put makeup on your face, they make you look like the opposite gender, they, make you look younger. Typically, the way that's done up to this point is it just does a 2D mesh of your face,
Mhm.
and it's there as long as you sit still, you can move a little bit. However, there's a new one. There's two new ones that are freaking people out, and you can even Google it and find videos of people and the reaction to it. And these are normal TikTok users. One's called Bold Glamour, and the other's called Teen Look. Bold Glamour basically does that, makes you look like a supermodel, whether you're a male, female. Teen makes you look like what you look like when you were younger. Now, what's odd about it is it's 3D modeling. It's not using a 2D mesh. TikTok, of course, is not commenting on whether or not they're using artificial intelligence, but most experts agree it is definitely AI enabled because they haven't had
Yeah.
one like this before, and it's freaking people out, especially on the teen one. There was an article I read about how it'll put side by side your current face at your current age and the teen one of what it thought you looked like as a teen. And it really kind of forces people to face the reality of time. And it's freaky, especially when you touch your face and it's moving with it because it's 3D. So it doesn't
Yeah.
distort. So I don't know. It's kind of creepy. I don't know.
That is creepy. I've only used Snapchat, and some of their filters are pretty funny. So if that merges over into the Snapchat world, I'll probably definitely experience that.
It's fun to play with, but those deep fakes are scary, man. Can you imagine some of the
Hmm.
mayhem that could be done
Oh,
with that?
absolutely. Yeah. Well, there's one I saw that somebody's deep faking Tom Cruise. Maybe that was on TikTok.
I saw that.
He's putting a Tom Cruise face on his,
Hmm.
so, and
Yep.
it looks very real.
And they do it with voices. And there's positive uses of voices, and then there's negative. One I saw was a combination of voice and face. It was an impersonator, but they ran it through an AI for audio, and it was Morgan Freeman. But it
Hmm.
wasn't Morgan
Yeah.
Freeman. The creepy thing was it was him. It looked like him. The voices were him. They did the same thing. Like interesting. There was a documentary on Anthony Bourdain, the guy that used to travel around and he would try different types of foods. He was a chef. In his documentary, he had journal entries, and they used AI with his voice to read these journal entries. Now, a lot of people got really upset about that. And the filmmakers are like, well, we got the family's permission, those kind of things. But other family members didn't like it. They found it creepy. Blurs that line, between what we can do and that sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Absolutely.
So, what do we got next, my friend, on the news
So
list?
I saw the. It's a really cool idea, but I'm also kind of worried, and I'll tell you why. Ford is seeking a patent. I think they filed for the patent in 21 that your car could repossess itself. So you miss a couple payments, and your car's just like, nope, I'm out.
Does
Going
it
to the bank,
drive?
or
Does it just drive
uh,
away on its own,
I
self-driving?
believe so. I didn't look at the patent. I mean, it's got a lot of technical language and stuff for the autonomous driving mode. But I think under the plan, I'd say if the car misses a couple payments, the repossession is issued by the computer, and it either drives to a bank or drives to a location, or works with a tow truck company and drives itself onto the street for the tow truck to get it easier.
That's insane. That's
That
nuts.
is insane. Yeah.
Along that same line, I'd read it was a company, I believe it was BMW or Mercedes Benz. Don't quote me on it. It was back in the summer. They were charging subscription services for certain car features. And the example was if you want your
Oh,
heated seats to turn on and work, you got to pay a subscription service for the car features.
now a little funny thing on that. Can you imagine if EA made a car?
Oh my
There'd
God.
be
Electronic Arts?
microtransactions everywhere. Yeah.
20 cents to turn on
So,
every time you would do your high beams, it would be 20 cents if it was Electronic Arts. And for those of you that are
yep.
unfamiliar, Electronic Arts video game company, they're notorious for microtransactions to where they
Yes,
basically make money just by nickel and diming you with every little thing. So that would be a car I would not want to buy by any
absolutely.
means. But
Oh, you have arrived home. Would you like to unlock your doors for 50 cents? Like,
no,
yeah.
dude, don't. That's like a Black Mirror right there. That's
Yeah, yeah,
creepy.
yeah. I'll keep that on down low.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where a lot of these things go, where we draw the lines and that sort of thing. It's interesting to
Hmm.
even have the thought of the car driving itself to a tow truck company. They already had problems in San Francisco. There's those Uber ride shares where they did a test run where they're actually autonomous, but there was
Yeah,
footage online of police trying to pull it over and it wouldn't pull over, or it would pull over for a minute when it would see the lights, but then it would like pull away, but then
that's
nobody was
funny.
driving it, and they were trying to get a hold of the company for the taxi company to shut it down. So crazy brave new world, my friend. It'll be interesting to say the least.
Yeah, being in the law enforcement world, if I go up to a car and nobody's in the driver's seat, I would be okay. I don't know what to do. I have no idea. I'm just get back in my car and slowly drive away.
Ghost car.
So,
Oh man, that's crazy. All right, we got one more left here, and this one, my wife had told me about, and I thought it was a really positive thing. We talk about technologies. We just talked about some
Hmm.
some darker
Yeah.
stuff right there, but this one's pretty cool. There's new technology that's related to the audio field. Now, for some time now, if you're hearing impaired and you have a a hearing aid, for example, there are some on the market that have Bluetooth and that sort of thing inside of them, so you can listen to music. So that's been around for a while. However, they're now making developments for both hearing aids and cochlear implants with Bluetooth connectivity. And they're going to be able to stream, obviously, music and movies to them. But it's a big deal for theaters, for example. As you know, not all theaters, there are a few, will have closed captionings on, or they give you a separate audio device that you have to hold up. It's just not convenient. This is cool because it will pipe the soundtrack of the film directly into the cochlear implant or into the hearing aids itself, and hopefully providing a better experience. So, Doug, what do you think about that, man?
I think that'd be great. You know this now, but the youth listeners may not know that I do wear a hearing aid on one side. I've worn a hearing aid for about 3, 4 years, and it is amazing. I've gone so many years in denial of I can hear on one side, I don't need the other side, but it definitely affected my personal life and my work life. So
So you're
getting the
hearing
hearing
impaired.
aids, yes. On one side, I've been hearing impaired since birth, and I always had surgeries. I get all the tubes. A lot of young parents will know kids with the tubes and the drainage and the earaches and all that.
Yeah.
So I had all that good stuff. But yeah, the hearing aid has been amazing. Now
Is
the
this something
last
that you
time,
would do? Like, does the type that you
mhm.
have Bluetooth, or is it not that? What type do you have? And is this something you would be interested as somebody who actually is hearing impaired?
So the cochlear, if people don't know, that's kind of the bone anchor, I believe, if I'm saying that right. It kind
Yes.
of is just a permanent feature on the side of your head. They wanted me to get that last time. They said that'll be like the clearest audio you can provide. And not that I'm some fancy model or something, but I didn't want something just permanently stuck on the side of my head. So I went
Sure.
with the traditional over ear look. They offered me some Bluetooth and some stuff that's a little too pricey and not that I needed. But I
Yeah.
can only imagine taking a phone call with no phone to my ear and people with like, who's this guy? Is he
Uh,
talking to himself? Or
Dude, it happens right now anyway. Have you seen how small AirPods are getting anyway?
yeah.
And
Hmm.
so it already happens. You go travel, people, you think they're talking to themselves. You can barely even see what's in their ears. Some of them are so small. So I don't
So
think that
here's
would
my
be
little
too
poke
awesome.
at AirPods, and you tell me just to be quiet. But did they not make AirPods with little connectors so you wouldn't lose your AirPods?
They
Like little
did.
wire.
Yeah, it was like third party. They would hang on the stems. Now that's
Hmm.
the first AirPods because people were complaining about
They're
losing
a
them.
lot better now, I think, right?
Well, the AirPod Pros are a little shorter stems, but the Pros actually have noise canceling in them as well, which is nice. Honestly, I've owned both. I've not had a problem losing them, but I kind of baby my electronics, so maybe I'm OCD in
Absolutely. Me
that,
too. Yeah.
in that regard.
I have the Pixel Buds and I love those
Do you
things.
like
So,
those?
yeah. So sorry to get us off track. Back to
No.
that. I think it would be great for the movies. Our local theater actually has this little device that projects your captions. That's the
Oh,
word I'm
that's
looking
cool.
for. Projects your captions on a little device that sits in your cup holder.
Oh,
I've
that's
always
awesome.
thought about getting that because it has little arms and you can move it to where it's like right below your eyesight and you can see
I
the
love it.
captions.
I love it.
So great feature by our local movie theater here.
Yep, I've had this conversation so many times, specifically with my father-in-law, because we talk about how the mixing in films, and I even talk about this with my other friend, David, who's in film. Oftentimes, mixing is off in theaters. And you'll
Hmm.
even kind of notice it even at home, depending on what your sound system is, if it's, 5.1 channel, 7.1 channel. But oftentimes, if you're splitting those channels out, they'll put the audio just in that center speaker, and then you'll have the auxiliary sounds, so you can have gunfire to the right, the back, that sort of thing. However, it just doesn't matter if the mixing is off. The audio always seems to be so much more muted than the explosions. And
Yes.
we always talk about it'd be kind of cool just to have closed caption on. I have it on at home oftentimes. Many times I'll watch a movie in the theater. The most recent Batman is a good example. It's a very dark film, like lighting wise, and
Very dark.
I can't even see their lips to see what they're saying, and the audio is off. So sometimes I'll rewatch a film at home with closed caption on. So, oh, that's what he said. He was
Yeah.
talking about Falcone and the Penguin, so that kind of a thing. So
Yeah, we love captions at home because there's stuff we missed, like
Oh yeah.
stuff that they don't say, like truck in the background,
Mhm.
or and it gives more context to the show, and I think it helps us better. Not that my wife is hearing impaired, but she's like, "Oh, I didn't know that."
We are not, and we leave them on as well because you catch a lot of the things in dialogue a little bit easier. So we leave it on as well. And I used to not, but now I just love it. I have it on all the time. I'm a huge fan of closed caption. So the last thing on this
Absolutely.
topic, I'm sorry if you don't mind, I'm gonna call you out on it. You have
Uh-oh.
probably you have the you know what I'm gonna do. You have the coolest tattoo of
Yes.
anyone I've ever seen. What is it? And it's not, it's in an appropriate place. I want to be clear.
Yeah, so the law enforcement, again, you have to worry because some places don't allow tattoos. But I thought, I'll just go for it. So I actually have kind of a Windows 98 nerdy classic mute symbol. So you look down in the bottom right tray of your computer, and there's a mute symbol. It's behind my ear, and I just thought that was hilarious.
Isn't it
So
your left ear, like your lower? Is
mhm.
it back behind your
It's
ear?
kind of right behind here for the people on the video; they can see, but down and behind my ear. I would show you on camera, but we'll definitely get a picture up there
I'll
of the
get a picture
actual
up there.
tattoo.
Definitely.
Yep,
But
it's
I'm
pretty funny.
sorry. That is one of the most creative tattoos I have ever
Absolutely.
seen, man. So it's functional because I've seen
Yeah.
you at like get-togethers, and if somebody's talking, you don't hear, and you lean in and you always point to the tattoo. It's like, oh, well, that's a great
Hmm.
visual. So I had to call that
Yeah.
out. Hope that's not too personal. Uh,
No, that it works great because I've seen people and the looks on their face looking at that, they understand, and then I see them slowly move to the other side of me.
so
It's
you're messing
amazing.
with people. You're punking people.
They're like, "Oh, it is off on that side. Let's move over here."
No, that's
So,
funny. That's really funny. Well, that's awesome, man.
yep,
Well, thank you for sharing. We had a
no
long
problem.
news list, but we are going to keep this movie train rolling here for our primary topics today. Now, I just want to say right out the gate, we're very sensitive on any television shows or film that we're going to discuss. We're big on spoilers. I'm just going to tell you, we're going to talk about the entirety of the Predator movie franchise. Specifically, though, we're going to zero in on the most recent installment, which was on Hulu. It was specific to them, and it was called Prey, Prey. If you have not seen it, spoiler alert, pause it now. Don't listen to the rest of the episode because we're going to talk about it. Also, we're talking about Avatar, not only the first one, but the second one that's in the theaters right now, Way of Water. If you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, we don't want to ruin things for you. It stinks. So consider this your warning. Pause the podcast now, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, any of these, your Apple podcasts, just pause that bad boy right now. Come back to it later. Go check out our back catalog of episodes. We'll
Yes.
always have a spoiler warning like this. Now let's begin. So, Predator. What are your thoughts on Predator? Do you hate it? Do you love it?
Predator was good. I started, back in the old Arnold Schwarzenegger day. I believe it came out in late '80s, maybe '87.
Yep, I got that list right
Um,
here. 87, my
oh,
friend.
sweet.
Yeah,
You
we're
can
gonna run
keep
down
me
it.
honest here. So,
I will. I'm looking at it.
Predator, Predator 2, I didn't like as much, but
1990.
it was definitely a continuation.
Hmm.
But I'd say my favorite one was The Predator. It kind of added a little comedy, a little humor to it.
Hmm.
But I think you were telling me earlier that it didn't do very well.
It did not, in way of box office sales. It was not deemed necessarily a success. Personally, I loved it. Now, just for
Hmm.
timeline, because there's been a lot of Predator films, but let's so we all are aware. Because I had to look it up, I couldn't remember. The first one I was a huge fan of as a kid, 1987. Obviously, Arnold Schwarzenegger, awesome movie, great. Had Jesse the
Yes.
Body Ventura in it with that massive Gatling gun. Just such a great movie. Predator 2 came out in 1990 and it had Danny Glover in it. And he, of course, is famous for the Lethal Weapon films with Mel Gibson. That one wasn't, it was popular. It actually did okay. It wasn't as good, in my opinion. They did
I
some
didn't think so either. Yeah.
odd things in it that I didn't fully agree with. Then there was at Predators, plural. I don't recall that one. I may have missed it. That was 2010. So there's a big gap between 1990 2010. And then the one that you just brought up, which was 2018, The Predator. Love that movie. They added some comedy into it a little bit, but it was very well done. It didn't perform well, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then finally, it brings us up to Prey, which was released in 2022 on Hulu. Great film. Now, there were some crossovers. If you don't know or if you're not aware of it, Predator is in the same universe as Aliens, which we talked about earlier. And so they're actually, there's a whole mythology behind them to where the predators hunt the aliens for sport. That's part of how they become warriors. That's chronologued inside of the comic books, which came along, I think, after a lot of the films. I think the films were
I
first.
think so. Yeah.
And so that's kind of the timeline there. But I'm with you. I loved the 2018. That was written and directed by Shane Black. Now, what's
Hmm.
interesting about that, the reason why I think it was so good was because Shane Black was in the very first Predator in 1987's release. He was the nerdy guy with the glasses. I think he died pretty early
I
in the
did
film.
not know that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So he kinda had a feel for it, I think, and I loved it. I thought it was great. They considered that kind of a reboot, but it didn't perform
Hmm.
well. I think they walked it back and they decided, well, instead of doing theatrical releases, let's focus on streaming, which was smart. Prey is totally different. Doug, tell us about Prey. How is it different than the other films? Set us up.
I believe it starts in the 1700s. I could be wrong on
I
that.
believe so.
But
Let me double check that.
this series wise, it
S
starts with the Native
1719.
American. Ooh,
Yeah, or
1700s.
even
Okay,
earlier.
gotcha. Okay.
1719 is in the Northern Great Plains, just for
So
reference.
it starts with Native Americans. The predator is a trophy hunter per se, and that this is where he's going to, I guess, grab or hunt, I should say, a Native American person. And it's really cool to see their technology, their weapons against something so advanced.
Yep.
But they know the woods, they know the land, they know things that spoiler alert, can still get the predator. So they don't have to have machine guns or miniguns or rocket launchers. They still use their expertise, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I loved about the film was the clashing of the futuristic technology, uh, paired with, of course, the really old, you know,
Absolutely,
technology
yeah.
that they had. And what's cool is they even dated the Predator technology. You know, it didn't have the over the shoulder laser that you even see
Hmm.
in the 1987, which makes sense. So it even shows a progression in the Predator technology, which is kind of cool. Now, obviously, it was still more advanced than theirs, but I love that. I love that it had a female protagonist. She was amazing.
She was great.
She had a brother in it. He was amazing. And their camaraderie and her wanting to be a warrior. She wanted to be a hunter, not a gatherer, which was obviously
Mhm.
going against the grain. That was a cool sub element to her character. And then, of course, she ultimately ends up being the one to take it down. And it is a wicked film. And
Yes,
the blood, the unique creation of what they did with the blood. The blood is green. It always has been. It glows like neon green. Uh, like it's so cool because it's these really dark forest sequences, and you see the neon green blood when it gets hit, or it's poured even all over her face, and she ends up at one point taking the blood and smearing it on her face, and it's got this
kind of
really
like
cool,
war paint. Yeah,
yeah, and it's like this neon green glow. It was so cool cinematically, and I loved it. And honestly, I didn't. It
yeah.
was you were the one that had saw it first, and you had said, "Hey, you need to check it out,"
You got to
A-
check this out. Yeah,
and I did.
definitely.
And both my wife, we loved it. It was awesome. So hopefully, and we found an article from back in August of 2022 from Sci-Fi Network. They basically pointed out that due to the success of it, they're hoping. Um, that even though it's been 35 years since the original 1987 release, that this will be Prey will be a jump start to the franchise, and
To
that
get it back up and running. Yeah.
get it back going. And they've even talked about um, the success could pave the way for an origin story or even another Alien versus Predator film. Now, the top of this podcast, we were talking about Aliens is just now starting to shoot the next one. Uh, I would love for them to build up both of those to that arc, and I think it would be really, really cool. There's a lot of cool stuff they could do storyline wise there.
Yeah, I did a little checking. I think Alien versus Predator, that's kind of the crossover series out in
Yep.
'04, and then Alien versus Predator Requiem.
Hmm.
So you kind of see those two different franchises in the same universe mesh, and really good fights, really good scenes. And I would definitely check those out if you haven't done that yet.
They're worth watching. I don't think the stories are quite as good as
No, it's kind of
87.
a side venture.
It
Yeah.
is. Well, it's more about the gimmick of, oh yeah, they're together. There
Mhm.
isn't much story in from what I remember, but it's been a long time since I've seen them. Don't flame me on it if you all love
No,
it.
no,
I'm
you're
not saying
good. Yeah.
so, but it's really good. So I'm optimistic about the future. I love this franchise. Always have. Think it's got a cool future. I like the Aliens franchise. Just makes sense to merge
Hmm.
merge those bad boys together. And I got in a kick not too long ago when I was reading my digital comics and picking up a whole variety of Predator comics and Alien comics, and then Aliens versus Predators, and they're really good. So they got a lot of great source material if they want to move forward with the IP.
Definitely.
All right, Doug, let's talk about films. Now, I did see Knock at the Cabin. You have not seen that yet, though, right?
I have not. I've always been a fan of, and I hope I don't butcher his name, M. Night Shyamalan.
You said it right. You
Uh,
did. You did.
oh, cool. Okay.
Well, I don't want to ruin
I
that for you. That's why I bring it up because we were going to
Oh
talk about
no.
that,
Yeah.
but I don't want to ruin it for you. Instead, I did see a movie that's still in theaters now that you had seen, and that is Avatar: Way of Water. You saw it before me. What's your take on it?
So the first Avatar is really the true first 3D movie that I saw in theaters, and it just blew me away. James Cameron does a heck of a job. Such vivid colors, such kind of an awesome storyline, something totally new and unique. And then we had to wait a long time. You might have the year in front of you, but Avatar came out. We waited quite a while. Avatar 2 came out, and I thought it was just as good as the first one.
Yeah, it did. I don't have it right in front of me. You can find it, but my first thought was when I was looking at it was, holy James Cameron, a 3 hour and 10 minute movie. Um,
Right.
I was like, ugh. Uh, now, for those of you who don't know, James Cameron is pretty awesome. He's got some great chops. Dude launched single-handedly and wrote the Terminator. I mean, hello, that's huge. Obviously done other massive stuff like Titanic. The dude just hits things out of the park. He's very accomplished. um, Avatar is kind of what he has hitched his wagon to and what he wants to continue to do. Now, the first Avatar was a big deal, not just cinematically because it was gorgeous, but he actually had technology invented, special effects invented. An example of that is they filmed most of it on green screen of the first Avatar, and he had this camera that was essentially, think of it as, it had a screen that looked like an iPad on it, but they did what's called previs. They basically injected the world of Pandora, where these creatures live, just very basic special effects on that iPad. So in real time, while they're in front of the green screen and he's walking around with his iPad, they can see what it's going to look like, where the log's going to be that they're going to jump over, and
Oh, the,
just, I mean, that had never been done before. And he and his production company developed that technology to make those special effects
that
possible.
is amazing.
It is. And so the second one, oh my gosh, it's just as beautiful. It didn't
Hmm.
honestly feel like 3 hours to me. It kept me engaged. My biggest kudos to him is something that drives me nuts from a story standpoint when you have a whole series of things. He kept the bad guy from the first one. That
Yes.
I mean, that's just, and basically it's very creative. He brings the guy back through a very creative narrative we've seen all before, where they send the memories back, but this time they put the guy's body in one of the Naboo, which is the blue characters inside of Avatar. So he's just as strong and that sort of thing. But that bad guy was awesome. Like
He
inside of,
was.
oh, he was great. And to bring him back,
Yeah.
because the cardinal sin is, I'm going to get on my high horse here. You have a
Uh
good bad
oh.
guy, you don't want to kill him off. Darth Maul, cough, cough. I'm sorry, Star
Right.
Wars. Dude
Right.
was an awesome bad guy. And they just killed him off like that. Killed him off. Now I know they brought him back later on in like cartoons for Clone Wars, that kind of thing. But you don't do that. And then they, in Star Wars, in my opinion, always had a bad guy problem after Darth Maul after that, because they bring him up, knock him down. Doku, kill him. General Grievous, kill him. Emperor, kill him. Oh, let's bring the Emperor back again. It's just that when you have a very good bad guy, you don't there's built-in conflict there. You don't want to squander that. And I don't think he did. And the fact that the bad guy is still actually living by the end of this film, I know he's supposed to work on at least a third one, if not a fourth one. He's been quoted as saying that these are going to be the films that he's going to continue for the rest of his career and finish out.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely. So, kind of go back 2009, first Avatar, and then
2009.
obviously
Yeah.
2022 for The Way of Water. So, we'll
It's a
see
long
if he
time.
kind of holds to the same time frame, and we'll have one in a couple years.
And I believe it's done really, really well in the box office. Now, right now, there's not the theater system is not thriving like it was before. We do have
Hmm.
some good, movies coming up. We've talked about a few of them. I saw the posters just whenever I was in the hallway there. You and I actually put on our list for the podcast to talk about upcoming films, but you got everything from Guardians of the Galaxy, you got John
Oh,
Wick coming up. There's a Dungeons and Dragons movie coming out. Indiana
hmm.
Jones. Oh my gosh, I saw that trailer. It looks impeccable. And they
Yeah,
used AI again to make him look younger.
yeah. I
Good
wonder
use
if
of
they
AI.
used the bold glamour on his face.
They maybe they did. Maybe they
Yeah.
did. And it's interesting how they're using that too, because if you watched The Mandalorian, which by the way, if you're a fan of that show, it just launched again on Disney Plus the next season.
Hmm.
But they did a young version of Luke Skywalker in that show, and they did it really well. So it's interesting how they're doing that. Who knows? Maybe they'll eventually do an origin story with Predator and bring Arnold back and make him look young again.
That would be cool. Yeah, and to go back about movies and theater, there's something about just going to a movie theater and the popcorn and the soda and all the candy and just that whole experience. Yeah, you can watch it at home. Yeah, you can watch it on the couch. You have unlimited bathroom breaks, but there's something about going and seeing it at a movie and the magic of the movies
But
is
there's a
just amazing.
nostalgia. Do you think that
Absolutely.
nostalgia will be lost on our generation? Because,
I hope not.
well, remember, it was a meeting place for when you were younger. It's where you would
Yeah.
go on a date. It has all these elements baked in. But generations coming up, especially COVID kids, to use the term. I mean, think about it. They're used to having big blockbusters streamed directly into their home now, and they won't have
Yes.
that same nostalgia factor.
Yeah, and I really hope that we don't go to that. I mean, it's very convenient, it's very handy, but there's something about just getting in the car, and I'm sounding old here, but
You do.
going into town and going to see a movie. And some of these theaters even have reclining seats. They have a full
They do.
bar. They have customer service to your seat. It's
They're
getting
trying.
crazy, and I just hope that they keep it. So
Yeah. Or can iterate it in a way where streaming can cohabitate with it in some form. I know right now in some cases you can have a movie that's in the theater streamed, but you'll pay a premium for it. Sometimes it's $20, sometimes it's higher. Honestly, I'm fine with that because
yeah,
you throw, especially you got a family, you throw popcorn and candy on top of that. You're going to blow that amount easy if you were to stream it into your home. I don't, I kind of, I'm fine with them charging a premium for it to be streamed in home. That makes sense to me. Now, I will tell you, there's some pretty cool gimmicky. We don't have them around here, but there's some really cool things that theaters are doing. My daughter, when we were checking things out once, we found a theater that actually, her and I were really surprised. Like, what is this place? And it was like called Hollywood Dinner, whatever. And we just thought it was a restaurant. Come to
yeah,
find out, it has a situation where you go buy your ticket. They actually bring you dinner, and
that
they
is really cool.
you eat dinner with a waiter while you're watching the movie, you know? And they have
Yeah.
some with couches, so you can actually lay down. I'd be afraid I'd fall asleep, though.
Oh, I've been in those recliners, and you get pretty comfy. Nice leather seats. The one I went to a couple towns over, very nice leather. Raise that seat back. My
I know.
wife, now she might hear me in the other room, but we've gone to a lot of movies, and she may or may not have fallen asleep. So I kind of
Oh, are you
watch
outing
movies
her?
on my own.
Oh,
Yeah, she might
man.
rush in here and choke me in a second, but we'll see.
Well, if at any moment the webcam goes dark and we hear
Yeah,
a couple
and you don't hear me anymore. She is attacking me, so
don't
that'll
worry,
be
I will
okay.
carry the show on without you in your
I
name. We'll
appreciate
have a
that.
rest in peace at the end of this, with the we'll
Yeah.
play In the Arms of the Angel by Sarah McLachlan.
But to kick that old school, that is our first date way back when.
What was the
Uh,
movie?
Bats. I remember because
Wait,
our
wait,
theater,
Bats?
Bats the
BAT?
movie. Yep. It was kind of like a
I'm
comedy
Googling it.
horror movie. You have to look it up. Yeah. We'll throw a
Bats
thing
movie.
up.
I'm looking here.
So
Keep
the only
Oh
reason I
God.
remember it because actual bats were flying in the theater.
Oh wow. It was in an old
I
theater, I
thought,
assume.
wow, is this like some 3D technology? No.
Bats: The Human Harvest from 2007. Could that possibly be it?
I believe so. Yeah,
There
we
was
are.
one in 1999. So it looked like it
No,
was
99. It is 99.
oh, wow, you didn't
Yeah,
it was a well,
we've
there's a
been together
remake.
for a minute, so
If you wanna relive that whole thing, or
I may
recreate, you
have to
could
tell her that.
check out the 2007 version of Bats: Human Harvest, but
I'm
you
looking
apparently
now. I don't know if I'm interested.
1999 Bats. Wow, that's,
So yeah, killer bats, I believe, if I remember the story right, and they're trying to get rid of them. They're in the desert or like southwest area of the country.
wow,
Very cheesy,
like
but
Tremors?
I mean,
Kinda like
oh,
that desert
don't
kinda
hate on
thing?
my Tremors
No,
now. Yeah,
Tremors
I
is
love
great, it's
Tremors.
great, I'm just trying to
Okay, yeah.
what's the setting, the motif? I'm assuming
Yeah,
it's
yeah, Southwest. Tremors, amazing. Bats, okay, whatever. Yeah.
I've never heard of this. Wow, was it your idea or her idea to go to this?
I think it was a two young teenagers. Dot dot dot. Let's go check out a movie. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. It says here when a population of bats in a small Texas town starts attacking the unsuspecting citizens, Dr. Sheila Casper, a zoologist, of course, the
Right.
zoologist, specializing in the species, is called to investigate. With her help and her assistant, the local sheriff, strange details about the bats begin to emerge. You know, I bet there's a cheesy trailer to this. Have you gone back and looked at some of these trailers? They're
I have
so
not.
the voiceover guy, we didn't question it back then, but now they're like,
Mhm.
in a time where it stood still, one
Dun dun dun.
man and his pet bat. They're so
So I mean, a high
so
quality movie for our first date. So
well, its budget was 5.25 million.
oh
So yeah, but in the box office, I guess it did okay. It did 10 million, so
yeah, a
it
lot of
made
people
its
went
money
on
back.
dates that year. I guess I don't know.
Wow. I bet if you looked in 1999, you would see better movies like I don't know, The
No,
Matrix.
yeah. You got to
Oh,
start out early. Go to like a horror movie.
here's what I think. You were setting the bar low,
Yes.
so
Let's start this relationship off right with a low
cheesy
budget
B
Hollywood
movie.
film. Yeah. Yes.
I always tease my wife because her tastes are different than mine, and not. Well, I'm not going to go there, bad or worse. But what I will say, she has a lower tolerance for cheese. So let's just say that because she grew up and her mom would watch
Oh.
B movies, and one of them that she told me about, I looked at it, was horrible. It's called Chopping Mall, as in like axe
Oh.
chopping, and
Okay.
and
I've
it's
got a
like
story in a second.
and if you like look up the trailer, it's hilarious. There's like an escalator that eats
Yeah.
people when you get on it, and there's a robot.
That's amazing.
There's a sentient robot that goes around this mall. I don't know if it's 80s or 90s. I have to look it up. But
Yeah.
basically, sentient robots going around killing everybody trapped in the mall. That's a smart mall.
Oh,
So
that's
it's
not
funny.
good.
Everything seems to keep going back to AI with us on this podcast. But Chopping Mall, check it out. Awesome
I
film.
might need to. So I don't remember what movie she was watching at all. She kind of bases her movies off of, well, this guy's in the movie. I saw him in another one. Okay. So I just remember going in, seeing these two people fighting, and then out of nowhere, this guy pulls out a sword. I'm like, and now there's swords? And she just starts laughing. So high
You don't remember the
quality
movie?
entertainment there. Oh, no. I'll see if she does, but it was well, this is a suggestion for this one. So,
Wow. I'll tell you what, man, there's some good stuff out there. So none of them, though, really kind of can hold a candle to Avatar. So if you haven't seen
okay.
it, we encourage you to see it. It is really worth it. Doesn't feel like 3 hours. The special effects are, you can tell why it took so long to make. It's even better than the first one. It's hard to say.
Yep.
The
And
stuff they
that's,
do
yeah.
with the water. I mean, it's really,
You always
really good.
worry about sequels and
Yeah.
stuff being bad, but this is good. I like it. He's
You always
carrying it
worry
on.
about that. There's like a slump syndrome that sometimes happens with the second one.
Hmm.
There's a lot of
But
movies.
Terminator 2?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, beautiful movie. Great movie.
Yes.
But it's funny though, you look through and a lot of the second ones aren't there's just very few that, really crushed on the second one. I'm gonna say this, but theatrically, the second one released to Star Wars was Empire Strikes Back. Many people
Yep.
consider that one of the greatest. But those are few and far between. Oftentimes the second ones don't do well, especially if there's a set trilogy. And I think a lot of it is because if they have a long form vision or they're trying to milk it for money, They don't think about, the narrative aspect of it, or what makes sense. And oftentimes second movies don't have good closure to them. This one, Avatar, it does. It's got good
Yeah,
closure, but it has still a decent setup for a third one, and even a possible, fourth one if they wanted to. And that's mainly
yeah,
because, he's built such a massive world with this Pandora thing, and that sort of thing. So I enjoyed it. It was good.
I did too as well. Yeah, I'm excited to see the next entry in this franchise. I think they've talked about Way of the Water, so maybe fire people, maybe
That'd be awesome. Red
cloud
ones.
people. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Well, I like the little subtle things they did. So in the film, the people we know, the Navi, they're blue. Well, they have to leave. They're tree people, and they have to leave for, to run away to protect his family. And they go to the water people. Well, the water people are blue also, but they're a different tint of blue, which I thought was a cool touch. They evolved differently. And I was thinking during the
and they
movie, how
have
cool.
different tails too. Yeah,
They have different tails. Their hands are more like fins. It's really cool,
mm-hmm.
like the level
It
of
was cool.
detail. Yeah, with like the way they evolved. How cool would it be if there was fire ones and they're red?
Absolutely, yeah.
Maybe that'd be too cheesy, but I think it'd be kind of cool.
I'm sure he'll work it out good.
I'm sure he will. All right, brother, we are getting to the top of our time. We want to thank
Sounds good.
everybody for listening to our fifth episode in the can. We have some really fun stuff coming up. Uh, you know, starting within the next couple. So we will say this in the next two episodes, they are going to be a little different. So the next one will be more okay, like what we've been doing up to this point, conversations, going through our nerdy news. However, coming down the way, we have our first celebrity guest. It will be a surprise once they get here, and we are prepping for that now. So we're super excited about that. And then two, Doug and I are also going to Doug's first Comic Con. You
I'm really
excited?
excited.
Yeah, it's good.
You have explained it to me, but I think that your explanation, no offense, is not going to do it justice of how awesome I think it is and how cool. And I mean, I'm ready to, I always see all the costumes. I always see all the celebrities and stuff there. I think I'm just going to be overwhelmed, and it's going to be a long day, but it's going to be a great day, and I'll have lots to talk about.
I'm interested in your perspective, especially being a first
Yeah,
time person going to a Comic Con. I've gone with my kids quite a few times. There's just so much to it. Everything, yes, there's celebrities there, but the wares, it's like a big nerdy craft show of everything that you
which
can.
sounds great.
Oh, it's so cool. It's like it's walking the booths, looking at the swap meets. You have people that are artists, you have people that are novelists peddling their own novel, their own comics. Then you have the crafts, and what's cool is like oftentimes there's liberties because they're crafts, very Etsy. It's like if you took Etsy, people make
Hmm.
cool things with
Yeah,
Etsy and put it at a localized place in a booth, and you get to check out their wares and everything you like, whether it's video games, comics, movies. You see all kinds of cool stuff there. So I'm very interested in your perspective once we get back in. Our plan is we're going to actually try to take footage of that day, and then we'll play that footage back for the Spotify and YouTube video viewers. And Doug, obviously, be like me
oh, I'm
interviewing you.
sure I'm going to take all kinds of pictures.
Pictures and
Um,
notes, man. It'll be fun.
Absolutely. I've given my wife a financial warning because I'm sure I'm going to see something that I have to have there.
I already warned you. I already warned you. You need to
Yeah.
set a budget, man. You're gonna have
So
some.
it's either ask for permission or beg for forgiveness. I'm going with the
Oh,
ask for permission part in this.
well, just make it clear to her it's not my fault if you come home with a
No,
expensive
I will
bat,
let her know that.
a battle a lightsaber, or something.
That'll be right here.
Hey, actually, you do have a spot on the wall right there. You
I
need.
need to fill this up behind me.
Oh, we're gonna fill it up. I've got some ideas, my friend. We're gonna fill up that
Sweet.
space behind you for the video viewers. So, all right. Well, that'll do it for episode number 5 of our first season here at the Wired Nerdy Podcast. Want to thank everybody for listening. You all stay cool, and we will be talking very, very soon. Have a great week.
See ya. Thank you.